velkommen dere til å være med på workshop i Norges første og eneste galleri med verdensmester Juan Puchades. Så vi skal bare egentlig velkomme han og håpe alle kan gi en god stor applaus for Juan Puchades.
Today you are going to see my tanks. This was my first tank. Let's call it Iwagumi, because Iwagumi is rock formation. Okay, this was dragon stones. It's not following any of the rules. In here you can see it's completely straight. It was my first aquascaping tank. I had a good teacher. He explained me how to take care of the plants. And this is a really good way of starting, because this is Cuba, Emianthus calitrichoides. This is Taurogenia europens, and this is Eleocharis aficularis, and this is Eleocharis vivipara in a shape. I really think it's important to start thinking about plants. And then once you know how to take care, then start doing something, if you consider and if you like it, more complex. This is, let's call my first stage as an aquascaper. It was, as I told you, 12, 13 years ago, and it was the trend was mountain escape. So you see this was the first one, the second, and the third. And on that moment I started from this one to this. For me it was a huge change. If you see my, let's call it second contest aquascape, it was 54 in the EAPLC. So for a guy that didn't know almost anything about aquascaping 1 year before, to become in the 54th place, it was like, wow. So it was like a shock for me to be so high.
What size is the tank?
First one was 60, then I bought 90, and then the year after I bought 120. So for me, talking about sizes, 120 per 60 is the perfect size for contest. With this tank, I got for the first time 26 of the world in the EAPLC. Now Fukada says that you have to take the tank, do it in squares, 9 squares, and all them must be full of elements, right? Also, you have to start thinking three-dimensionally, not just in 9 squares, also a second line and a third line. Then you have 9 per 9, 81 different spaces to understand how to do perspective. So I did this tank, and it was placed, I feel, 44 or something like that, also a nice place. But I get bored about mountain, doing always exactly the same, and you are going to see that I like to change. This was the first tank I used stem plants in a much proper way. First of all, this tank for me was super enjoyable. It was the first tank I consider I was a bit closer to nature aquarium tank, being not a nature aquarium, but here plants have a very big relevance. In all the others, the plants were just a carpet, right? The hardscape was the main element, and plants were just giving some color. In here we see that plants also play a main relevance, main element of those tanks, and also the fishes are starting to be more interesting. With the pass of the time, I try to study about how color is important in art, and many things related with painting. It's completely, you can take it, study it, learn it, and then apply it to our tanks. I did it a lot in 2 ways, color and composition. And I did this little tiny tank, this is 45, with Frodo and with this driftwood. And this is the tank that I did that year, completely different, you see. And I want to show you, if you see in here, once again, the plants are just giving some color to the structure. This was the structure. This is the stone placement, let's call the scaffold. This is the ending. Finally, I've learned how to do it. This now it's quite common into the Indonesian style and so on. Finally, most of the work you do, it's blinded by the plants. But in any case, on that stage, I loved to do this kind of complex tanks. So this is Diorama Rock Escape. This is the composition I created for that year. It's the second time I considered that I was starting to understand how to do perspective, how to create lines that completely goes to the center, in this case the center of the tank. For me, I think that's a mistake. It should be better if I place it into in the 2/3 in here. Then I place it in the aquarium. This is polystyrene, harder than the white one. Why I did it? Because I wanted all to get high, and my idea was to create, instead of a sand path, right, do it with plants. Then I needed a good amount of soil, but I forgot what Takashi Amano told me. Stem plants need the right space. So if you see, this was a super nice hardscape that was completely blinded by plants. Where is the problem? That we need to understand how all plants grow and how they are going to be once they develop. And the year after, I tried to do the same hardscape materials, but tried to do not do again the same mistake. If you see in here, everything is a bit more, also with the same mistake that being in the middle. But I think I really love about this escape all the caves, all the shadows, that most of the hardscape seems that it's like floating. If we want to do a transition, we have to go from green to yellow, then to light orange, then to dark orange, and finally to red. That will be a much nicer transition, and we must allow all plants to get a bit mixed in between them. And another thing it was super important is, even the fishes are very small, are tiny, they are playing a nice role because they are helping us to understand the flow direction. This Masashi Ono tank, it was a way to create a tribute to him. Take a look at what a great fish choice for this tank. It's super simple, but it's great, and the use of the sub-bar resplendence, it's completely crazy for me. And I did it this tank. Now I realized that using the super red Ludwigia was not the best way to do it. Maybe it was too much red colors or orange colors on the upper side, but it was a tank that I really enjoyed it, and there was a tank that the emperors, Tetra emperors, had a very impact, a good feeling on it. And I want to show you the hardscape. You can see from flat to more perspective, right? Same elements, same materials. In here, this is placed much better. We see two big main elements. Maybe one should be a bit bigger than the other. In here, they are all competing almost in the same volume, you know, but it was quite good. But we see clearly the lines going, the flow lines going through the vanishing point. So now we are seeing evolution of my style, and using the proper plants in their proper places. Epiphytics in here, this is say the area, okay, in here without soil, without substrate, space enough for stem plants in the back, for sure using, trying to have as much speed as possible. This was the main theme of this tank. To this tank is exactly the same tank. Please take a look at here. Can you see it? It's the same. What happened? I decided to completely remove it. For sure, this area could not be removed. For me, this element was super big, too much. It was impossible to completely remove it, but I tried to think, how can I do it? So I transform it into a, let's say, more forestscape. Also, if you see, I completely changed the mood, because on those days I tried to study a lot about color. And from this moment, the color was a new element that I tried to get into my tanks. If you see in here, the most difficult color to deal with is red, because red will catch completely our attraction. So in the Brazilian escape we're going today, you are going to see how much red I'm going to use and why I use just a little. If you see this, it's not red, it's magenta. And it's framing. It's making dark on the frames to make you look where? Here. If I place a dark orange in here, your vanishing point for your beers, for your eyes, will be in here. Another way of doing it is getting really bright this area. If you see in here, it's completely softened because this tank is called Twilight. I wanted to represent the last hours of the sun, right? That's why it's so orange. But it was the first time I tried to even, for me it was, it's one of the first times that you can see the reflection in the upper surface, because I thought this was super nice to take these little details of all the plants, right? So, and also this tank is not as fast as this one. So in this tank also the water surface should be moving more with the hair dryer. If you place it with more faster, then you have more movement. This surface is a bit too slow, calm, in between the theme of the tank, right? So another element we can think about is the surface, and for sure both mirror size that we will talk a bit about them. But in here, this is for me is more calm tank from that viewpoint, and it was for me super interesting to see. It was an element that was not done since the very beginning. But when you have your tank and you are cleaning and you are stopping your filter, you can see, take a photo, wow, upper reflection is so nice for a photo, perfect. Oh no, this tank is better with waves. Also taking care of the color atmosphere. This is not a novel theme. Fucada did it before, and I was completely inspired by him from this side. But I tried to go in a different direction, and that direction was the color scheme. And also, it was the first time that you can see into a heavy stone tank stem plants in the upper areas. This is super controversial. I know some people have told me, why you use this, not a natural material. I agree. If we talk about classical aquascaping, then this should be not do it anymore. I just did it once, and it was too easy. It's so hard to, because I created what I call the snake skin technique, right? This is just why I use dragon, because dragon is really light and it's straight, and this is just glue it with silicone. But all these towers, that they are not together, then I place it together, but they 6 different elements, right? Were completely empty to allow soil to get inside, like when you have a plant and you have a pot. And I tried to add one new element that if you see like this, when I was finishing it, you see these 2 areas. And okay, it's nice, it's wow, but it's not deep enough. On this year, many people had used before the mirror for this area to simulate water, but nobody used it before here at the end. Take a look. If you place a mirror, nowadays I will never do it again, but on that age I thought it was a good idea, and really it's really effective. This mirror is placed like this. So this is these areas, and you have the feeling that is super deep, right? And I didn't want the same on that, because I just want one vanishing point. So in here I place it like this. Then some light get into, and then you just have a light in there, much less light, less bright than in the other side. And if you go here, clearly this is where your eyes are focused. One thing is the hardscape, but you have to naturalize it. We are talking about plant contest. So it's super important to have as much different shapes. They should be integrated, different green colors working together with that big contrast between one and the other will create this nice sense. And now you see Monte Carlo falling down. Now I go again to the driftwood tanks. This is like dreaming. This is like creating something completely different. Because in the contest I understand that you must be as natural as possible. So it was not bad, 39. And this is just 2 years ago. And this is one of the most, well, in here, I went for me a bit too much into trying to create an atmosphere for the work, for the art. Maybe it got really well in the Kiak, in the Korean contest. It was third. But nowadays, I think I went so far. It's maybe a bit unnatural, right? But this is one of the times that I really enjoy it, because when you see it, I hope this video is going to be seen. Yes, take a look how natural it was in reality. But I feel the photo was not a good photo, and we have to think about judges. They are not seeing our tanks, they are just seeing our photo. So if you are going contest, every change you do in your tank when you are creating the hardscape, even with the planting, you must do a photo, more or less where the final photo is going to be done. Even perfect if you use the same camera and the same lens that you are going to use, because it's not the same, the tank, if you are using wide angle that if you are using a normal lens, right? And then it's the best way to check the changes you are doing during your hardscape, because it's super important if you are going contest with something quite complex, that take your time. Enjoy it, do it as many times as you need, don't be hurry about it. If you are thinking about going to the APLC, you know that you have to do your photo before 30th of May. So don't start in January, start maybe in October, right? To take your time, do every step without hurries. Then you will enjoy it much, much, much more. And this is some similar aquariums. This is just hardscape contest that we had 4 hours to do it. This and the next slice, both were done in Korea. And this other, Masashi came again to the Netherlands. We tried to do a super strong Iwagumi tank, but we tried to naturalize it with long thin leaves. And with the pass of the time, when I'm doing workshop, I'm trying to think about not contest, trying to think about what should be really nice into a gallery or into your living room. My last tank was maybe the most successful one, and I promise it was one of the less time-demanding tanks in the hardscape and so on. First of all, because I am more experienced, but by the other side, because maybe I know a bit more how to do it. But if you want to go winning, you need to make all your efforts on it. Nowadays, you know that you are going against 150 people around the world that are quite focused on doing something really, really good. But don't forget to enjoy it away. Another experiences. This is in the biggest oceanographic of Europe. It's in Valencia, and I was invited to create a biotope with this guy. This is Alex. He's a biotoper. This was a B2. So it's on Congo River. So it says that we can use all the plants that are in the Congo River and all the animals, but they don't have to be exactly in the same habitat. This is a video of the hardscape I did, trying to mimic some driftwood falling down into the riverbed. but there are some aquascaping elements going away. On here it's not just placing the drift boot. And finally arriving to my last work, where I think I'm mixing all the things that I've learned about stone placement, because if you remove the drift boot in here, you have a Brazilian tank. The plants we are using are super similar than the ones that we are using now. They are almost all from the Brazilian style. It's powered, increased by the drift boot. If you see now here, it's super clear which is the main point. It's this element in here. It's super easy to understand how the flow is going. Here I took the biggest risk about the atmosphere. It's one of my things as aquascaper, to try to create different atmospheres. Also, I did a classical photo. Another thing that we have to learn is every material can be used in many different ways, but not on the same theme. Understand that dreaming is free, the way is not, so you have to work hard for it, but don't lose your mind, because I know how much frustration and unsatisfaction I have lived during all this trip, and doesn't work like that. Don't place your goal just in the number finally of the contest you apply your tank. And for sure, learn about every mistake you make. I hope I have transmitted to all you all my mistakes and how I learn it. For sure, when you learn it, once the tank is finished, once the photo is sent, and once the tank has been judged, then you learn it, so don't be frustrated. So that's it. Thank you for listening to me. Maybe I hope some of you will be in contest, or at least will have really nice tanks at home. Thank you so much, and now I feel we are going to have a little rest, and then we are going to start with this one.